All right, what's up, everybody? Running a little bit behind, my fault. So, guys, today, first, I want to thank you for watching, for viewing this channel. This is the GoGetter family. I'm Gene Boykin. I'm the founder of the GoGetter family, and this channel, I started this channel so that I could bring you guys the actionable knowledge that you need to close creative financing and subject to transactions, right? So you can get in the game without needing a lump sum of money or good credit. Having to go to banks with your hat in your hand, wearing your Sunday's best is that's the prehistoric way of doing real estate. You do not have to do that. So that's what this channel is all about. And today I'm going to be talking to you about creative financing, or seller financing, how to use seller financing. So you guys got to excuse me. This is a Saturday where my kid's mom has to work. So yeah, she doesn't not have to work yet, but we're almost there, guys. So I'm a regular guy just like you guys. So we're going to be talking about seller financing, right? And what is seller financing? It's not a word or two words that people hear a lot, especially in real estate, because it's a strategy that most banks and realtors, and brokers, to be honest with you, they don't want us to know about and to use, because you don't have to go through a bank with seller financing. With seller financing, we are turning the seller into the bank, turning the seller into the bank. So, what I mean by that is when you go to a bank to buy an investment property, right, using the traditional methods, you're filling out a credit application, you're doing inspections, appraisals, you're going through that whole underwriting process. And then you got to have, your W-2s, you got to work history for 2 years, proof of income, all that stuff. Well, with seller financing, right, we are turning our seller into the bank. Okay. So whatever qualifications the seller has, that's all you have to do. That's all you have to do. Now, and the good thing about seller financing is it comes in so many different forms. This is the thing. When you open up your mind, right? When you open up your mind from being restricted from the traditional way of doing real estate, there almost isn't a thing that you can't do. And I say that because of this. All right. So with seller financing, a house is owned outright. Okay. So there is no debt on it, right? The bank doesn't that they're not paying a mortgage payment each month because they own it. Okay. So we can turn them into the bank and we make payments to them. But check this out. Now, say you found a property, okay, and we'll just say it's worth 100,000, just for easy numbers. It's worth 100,000, but there's still 20,000 remaining on the mortgage that the seller is still paying. Okay. So this is how that would work. You would use seller financing. All right. So you would use seller financing for that 80,000 in equity that they have, because the house is worth 100,000 and they owe 20. So you would use seller financing for that 80,000, right? And then you would use creative financing for that other 20,000. If you didn't want to spend any money out of your pocket, you can still take over that 20,000 in debt that is on that house, right? And then you can come to an agreement about that 80,000 in equity, where you can pay out a lump sum of that initially, or guys, you can get so creative that you can pay out a big lump sum, but in small pieces over time. Over time, whatever you and the seller agree on, that's what you guys can do. Whatever you guys agree on. Remember that, okay? Remember that you are not restricted by going through a realtor. All right. Using inspections, appraisals, things like that. Now, I always recommend getting a termite inspection. Okay. That's the one formal thing I always recommend, is getting that termite inspection. Okay. Because you don't want to have that problem. Trust me. So, but other than that, you're not restricted by those things. Okay. So I have personally been buying a lot of foreclosures, right? I've been buying a lot of foreclosures lately because of the pandemic and just the pandemic and the moratorium. Okay. There was that moratorium on foreclosures and evictions. So the people that weren't paying their rent Well, that stacked up. That stacked up over time, right? So once that moratorium ended, those they still owe that money. So they owed, instead of their monthly payment of like $800 a month, say they went 10 months. Guys, that's $8,000. And most people don't have $8,000. So those houses are going to be foreclosed on. So we can go in and we can take over the debt on that. And that is a form, in my opinion. Now, the GoGetter family, we do it a little bit differently. That's a form of seller financing, because that debt is staying in the seller's name. All right. It's staying in the seller's name. So, guys, I will be answering questions. If you guys have any questions, at the near the end of the show, I'll be answering any questions that you guys have. If you join me on a live broadcast, you'll get your questions answered. I'm not holding back. I'll give you the game. All right. Because you're spending your time with me. And don't forget to hit that thumbs up button to optimize this channel. And don't forget to subscribe, guys. All right. And comment in there. So let's talk about the steps of seller financing. Okay. And the steps isn't that complicated. For seller financing, people make it more complicated than what it really is, right? And my mentor, Chris Haskins, says, he's got a saying: it's simple, but it's not easy. Okay, again, it's simple, but it's not easy. So, and that can mean a bunch of different things, right? But what that means to me is this, and this has been my experience with this. Now, and remember, guys, I'm not preaching from a soapbox here, because I was doing traditional real estate investing for 3 years, and I only did 3 flips in 3 years. So I couldn't survive off of that. So I just got my first subject to just this past April of 2021. It's now December. So that's 8 months, right? So that was about when I got my first subject to. So this is about seven and a half months ago, I would say. And now I own 6 houses. Count them out. I own 6 houses, man. 6. And I've done 7 transactions. Okay. And I haven't used barely any money out of my own pocket for these transactions. And I most definitely haven't had to go to a bank and apply for credit. Okay. So that's the joy, of seller financing. That is the joy of seller financing. And they call it, they got a bunch of different names, for it, owner financing, seller take back, things like that. So it being simple but not easy means this to me: if you can understand the concept, right? If you just get the concept, then the rest will come to you when you're actually in action, when you're out there in the field learning by taking action. But we understand the concept, you're good to go. You're good to go, because when you understand the concept of a thing, when you're out there taking action, those light bulbs go off. They go off, man. That's how it went. That's how it went for me. And guys, I just helped Janelle Eagle Robles of She Helps Homeowners, or I'm sorry, She Helps Homeowners LLC. I helped her close her first transaction. That transaction was $760,000. 760,000. No credit checks, no money out of her own pocket. And we created 300,000 of that by our contracts and our knowledge. Guys, there was she's out in California. She knows a broker there in her city, and she lives in a very affluent city. Obviously, she's a $760,000 house. She lives in a very affluent city, and the main broker there that has a reputation, has been a broker for 25 years. He was in awe of this transaction. He was on vacation when she was getting it closed, and I was helping her close that. And he said to her, he was like, when I get back, I'm making you come over for dinner so you can walk me through this transaction. 25 years, a broker. Brokers are above realtors. So using the seller financing, it'll turn you into a unicorn, pretty much, a magician. So there's so many names for it too: purchase money mortgages, owner financing. But the simplest terms, it's pretty much a form of lending. It's a form of lending in a real estate transaction, where the seller The seller is lending you this money to buy his house, buy their house. Okay. So let's walk through a transaction. There's a house and it's owned 100% by the owner. So they're not paying a mortgage on it. All right. You want to purchase this house, but you don't have a lump sum of 100,000, or you don't have a bank, a lending institution that's going to lend you 100 grand because your credit isn't the greatest or whatever. You haven't had your job for 2 years, all those regulations. I don't even know them anymore because I don't use banks, man. I am the bank. So the main thing with seller financing is this: you have got to come across to your seller as knowledgeable, confident, competent, and credible, right? Credibility is huge, okay? Because one thing I tell my students is, we're not going to the corner store and just buying a can of soda. We're buying a house, right? We're buying and selling homes. So these are things of consequence. They are. So you've got to come across as knowledgeable, right? You got to have that confidence. When you speak with confidence. All right. And if you don't say something right, or you don't know the answer to a question, guess what? Say, you know what? I'm not sure on that. But the good thing is we have a team at We Buy Houses and Help People. So let me make a call real quick and I can figure that out. Simple as that. Simple as that. Because when you get to stumbling and then speaking in a way that it's like you're not confident in what you don't believe what you're saying. Well, then the seller isn't going to believe you. And what would then make the seller be confident in your promise? Because that's what it is. It's just a promise to pay. And that's why they call promissory notes, right? So what would make the seller confident in your promise to pay him over time, this $100,000? And I'll say this, guys, I don't pay more than 2% interest. I don't. No, more than 2% interest. And really, I go for all principal payments. So no interest. That's my main thing. And no down payment, right? No down payment. Matter of fact, I'm going to leave a letter of intent, okay, in the description that you guys can have for free. I'm going to leave that for free. I've got my 7 steps guidebook in there for free as well. So I had a person ask me a question just before I hopped on about, buying foreclosures. How do you stop a foreclosure? And what paperwork do you need? Well, check out that 7 steps guide. All right. Because one, you got to get some studying in. Right? Everybody has to do it, or you need a mentor, right? But you have to invest in yourself, in that education. That's the best investment you'll make. So we go to our seller, and whether if it's a landlord, most landlords are tired. They don't enjoy being a landlord. It is not fun, man. You are responsible for the repairs, the maintenance. You're responsible for these people's safety in your home. Then if they're not paying you, it is so hard to get a tenant out that isn't paying in most states. It is super hard. Okay. So being a landlord, most landlords that I talk to, they don't enjoy it. They don't like it. They're like, man, I wish, I wouldn't have done this, or they hire a management company and then they're barely making any money because they got to pay this management company. And the thing about being a landlord is this, especially if you have debt on that property, right? You have a mortgage that you're responsible for, and then your renters are essentially paying that mortgage for you, and you're catching the spread from what you charge them versus how much your mortgage is. Well, you're getting $300 a month. That's $3,600 a year, right? What if your hot water heater goes out, or God forbid your furnace? That's $3,000 right there. That's a year's worth of profit. Years worth of profit right there. So when I talk to these homeowners that are landlords that own the home outright, I tell them, you know what? I'm going to turn you into an investor. Now you are going to become a real investor, where all you have to do is sit back and check your bank account for that deposit every first of the month. That's it. No more driving around town in that rusty old truck, wearing your tool belt, unclogging toilets in the middle of the night and fixing leaky faucets. Those days are over. It's time to enjoy yourself. It's time to enjoy your time. This is why we want passive income, right, Mr. Seller? We want passive monthly income so that our time can be free. So that's what we give you. That's what WeBuyAndHelp.com gives you by taking over the the headache. I'm going to give you all of the benefits of being a landlord minus the headaches, right? So, what we do when we structure this transaction, there's a number of ways you can do it. You can buy it on a contract for deed. All right. You can buy it on a contract for deed. You can buy it on a lease option. Okay. Now, the difference between those two is a contract for deed. Um, you are filing that with the recorder's office. So that's on public record that you are the contract holder. It's going to say, I know where I'm from. It says, and you file a contract wherever you're at, except for Texas, because Texas, you can't even buy a house on a contract. Texas is, you got to do a wrap. No. And it's a little more sophisticated, but I mean, you can do it once you learn it. It's not, there's always a way around it. So anyway, you got to file that. So on public record, it's going to say the deed holder, and then it says the contract holder. And there's a saying in this industry, it is own nothing and control everything. So in our contract, when we're the contract buyer, and that's on public record, we control this property. We control it, but we don't own it. So we've got to make sure in our contracts, right, that one, it's assignable. Okay, so we can assign that contract. There's no prepayment penalty. And then we've got to set our option time, because a lot of times when you buy a house on contract and that's rent to own, there's an option period. So let's say we set out the option at 5 years. That means in 5 years there will be a balloon payment. Okay, a balloon payment of the rest of the debt, whatever it is that you owe on that property. And if you set the option at 5 years, that's when it will be, right? And so you set that option at 5 years. Now me, man, there's a whole saying, the deal after the deal. You can set that option at 5 years, and who knows what'll be happening 5 years from now, right? Who knows where you'll be? You should be in a way better position though. So you can go renegotiate that though. You can go renegotiate it where, you know what, Mr. Seller, you've been getting these paychecks on time every month. How about we just keep that going? Because this balloon payment right now, while I can make this balloon payment, I'm actually that money is better served somewhere else. So you've been getting this paycheck every month like clockwork. You haven't had to worry about anything. So let's just keep that going the way it is. There's a number of ways to talk to them. And see, the thing is, we're not transactional. We are about relationships, relationship equity. And the good thing about seller financing, that is a relationship, because you're going to be paying this person over time. You're paying this person over time. So by paying them over time, guess what you just did? You just their capital gains taxes, you just mitigated that by a lot, right? Because there is the capital gains taxes when they have bought something outright, right? They sold it outright, so they got to pay taxes on the profit. Well, guess what? They're getting their money over time. So they haven't sold it outright. So those capital gains taxes, they don't exist. For the people just joining me, I'm Gene Boykin, the founder of the GoGetter family. And today I'm talking about seller financing. All right, seller financing. So when you're setting up this seller financing in a contract for deed, okay, you're gonna put the purchase price, right? You're gonna put your purchase price and then also the interest. Are you paying them interest? And I'm gonna recommend, guys, that you get an amortization calculator. Now that big old word sounds kind of intimidating. And I didn't have an amortization calculator for the longest. It's simple to use, and it helps so much. What that does is you can plug in how much the purchase price is, what the interest rate is, right? How long it's for. Is it the 30 years, 20 years, 15 years, whatever? And then it'll give you your monthly payment, your principal and interest payments. So I use 10BII. It's $4.99. All right. And it's on your phone. You get to use it on it's on your phone. So it's it's mobile, man. And you just punch those numbers in so you can be on the phone talking to a seller and say, hey, this is what I can give you. Right. Seller financing is good because one, I tell some sellers like, you know what, you want 100,000 for this property, but would you rather take 100,000 today or 130,000 3 years from now? Right. 130,000 3 years from now, and I'm going to be giving you income throughout those 3 years. And this is how we can do that. Because guys, when you purchase a home and there's an interest rate, you're paying much more than that purchase price that you agreed upon. Just like with a mortgage, right? A 30-year mortgage, you pay 1.7 times higher than what you actually agreed on, right? So you end up paying 1.7 times. That's almost double, right? So we can show them that. And then this letter of intent, and I'm going to leave in the description, you'll see that because it's got examples on there where you bought the house for 300,000 at 2% interest. That 300,000 over it's got a 30-year amortization and then a 20-year. That 300,000 over a 30-year note is actually going to turn into, it's like 380,000 or something like that. I don't know the exact numbers, but it shows they're making 80,000 more than just 300,000. And then on a 20-year note, it's like a 30,000 more, right? So those are the benefits. There's a philosophy that all the greats use. It's WIIFM. What's in it for me? That's what everybody thinks, man. What's in it for me? Just think about that for a second. Whenever when you're interacting with somebody or you're in a sales situation, the thing on the front of your mind is what's in it for me. If you are pulling money out of your pocket to give that to somebody else for a service or a product, the thing on your mind is what's in it for me. So if we can lead with that, right? When we lead with that for people, what's in it for me, but we're giving it to them. What's in it for me? What's in it for them? That's what we're leading with. When we can lead with that, it allows us to open up the person. It opens them up, right? It opens them up to listening, and it opens them up to being more open to dealing with us in the way that we're asking. Because guys, you can buy real estate. You can buy investment properties with no money out of your own pocket. None. With no credit checks, without stepping foot in a bank. I only go into banks to deposit these big checks. Right? I only go into banks to deposit these big checks. I don't go in there to fill out credit applications and ask them for money, to borrow money. I don't. We do not personally guarantee debt on investment properties. The GoGetter family, we do not personally guarantee debt on investment properties. You don't have to. So when we're talking to these people, we have to make sure that they understand what's in it for them. We've got to make sure that they understand what's in it for them. All right. So what's in it for them is, again, they're making more money than their asking price. Those capital gains taxes, you're mitigating those in a substantial way, right? Because capital gains taxes are, man, they're tough. And you're giving these people passive monthly income. That is the way to wealth. One transaction, one transaction where you just get a lump sum of money, you have to continue to do these transactions in order to have financial freedom. But when your money's making money for you, that's the true definition of financial freedom. Passive monthly income, right? So this is what we're doing for those people. Okay, it's a benefit. It is beneficial to them. They're not going to have to worry about those taxes anymore. They're not going to have to worry about the maintenance and the repairs, but they're still getting paid off of it. They're still getting paid. So this is what we do. We can buy that with a contract for deed, and then on our exit strategy, we can sell it on a lease option because we're not landlords either. We're not landlords either. So when we sell it on a lease option, that is a rent to own as well. So our tenant, they're actually a tenant buyer, right? So they're responsible for the maintenance and the repairs. So we have bought it on contract. and that's on public record. So the A to B side of this transaction is us buying it on contract, and then the B to C side, us selling it, we're selling it on a lease option. All right. That is one of the ways you can do the transaction, or you can assign it. And we make monthly passive income off of that because, guys, what we negotiate with our seller, what we negotiate with our seller is going to determine how much we get paid with our buyer. Because if we set this up with our seller where we don't have to pay them a down payment, and it's a no interest loan, so all of our payments are going towards principal. Man, I love this. I did a transaction like that not too long ago. You get paid pretty well. So no down payment and then all principal payments on the loan. So then with our buyer, right? Our buyer, the Go-Getter family, our acquisitions company and our disposition company, WeBuyAndHelp.com, we take nothing less than a $5,000 minimum on a down payment for a rent-to-own property. So when we get $5,000 down, we didn't have to pay a down payment to our seller. So that 5,000, it goes in our pocket. Then, if we're able to negotiate a no interest loan with our seller, principal payments only, well, we put interest then when we're selling it to our buyer. And in my city, I have the lowest interest rates, the lowest, because people charge on a rent to own anywhere from 8 to 10%. 8 to 10%. And to me, that's exploiting people because, and exploiting people, we definitely don't do that, right? We definitely don't do that. But so I charge nothing more than 7%. But if I have a no interest seller financing loan on this home, right, I can turn around and when I sell it to my buyer, I can charge them 3, 4, 5% interest. And guess what? All of that interest is going in my pocket. That is our monthly passive income right there. That is the joy of seller financing. But the thing about seller financing is how are you going to come across and what are you able to negotiate? That's the thing. What are you able to negotiate? If you can negotiate these, the no interest terms and the no down payment terms, that's more money in your pocket. And the way that you do that, again, is by coming across as knowledgeable, confident, competent, and credible. Okay. Credibility. Right. So, and when you're first starting off, I mean, you don't need all of those things like a business card, a website, because I don't want people to sit there and think, well, I can't get started until I have a website because websites cost some money, man. And not a lot of people, this is no money investing. I want you guys to get started in this industry and in this strategy, with if you don't have a lot of money, just like I did. I didn't have a website for the longest time, right? I do now. It's WeBuyAndHelp.com. It's not We Buy Ugly Houses, We Buy Houses Cash. It's WeBuyAndHelp.com. If you see in that corner up there, look at that, right there. That's my acquisitions company. So anyway, guys, all you need is the ability to show your seller what's in it for them. That's all you need. I'm telling you, you don't need those business cards, website, all of this stuff, man, business email, all that crap. You don't need it. You don't need it. Um, all you need is the ability to tell them what's in it for them. All right. So, guys, for those that just joined me, this is about seller financing, turning our seller into the bank so that we don't have to go to the bank and apply for, credit to buy this house and buy it outright. We're turning our seller into the bank, right? So, seller financing, the benefits of that and how you use that. Right? How you use that so you can become an investor without a lump sum of money and without any credit checks, man, and going to banks. We become the bank, the Go-Getter Family Bank, man. And the Go-Getter Family Bank is dope. Yeah, we go hard because our buyers love us. Right. When we sell to an investor, I'm going to meet. There's a guy in my city. He's 24 years old. He's in commercial real estate investing. Man, he's dope, man. He's pretty dope. So I'm going to meet him today at noon. Ooh, that's in 50 minutes. At noon for my house that I'm selling right now that I didn't come out of my pocket any money for. Now, I did have to take 6 trailers of trash out of there to the dump. My guys did, my crew did. So that cost me $2,300. So that was a little bit of money. But I'm going to meet him today. And he is buying properties. He does multifamily and then he does single family. Well, now he's going to be able to buy more properties, more investment properties since he met me because he's not going to have to go to the bank and qualify for that debt. he's going to be able to just make a down payment. And then by making that down payment, he can get it on terms. When you, oh, okay. You can get it on terms. I got a question up there. I'll answer the question here in a minute. You can get that, he can get it on terms. So he pays that down payment, right? And then he pays me the monthly payments. What I then do, if I have got this on seller financing, is I take it and I pay my seller. Now, if I have got this on seller financing on terms where we took over the debt, what I do is this: I get my payment from my buyer, my monthly payment. And then that monthly payment, I take the portion out of that that pays the mortgage for the debt that I took over, right? So I take that portion out of my payment I just got from my buyer, right? Take that portion out. So let's say I've got an $800 monthly payment on some debt I took over on a house, 800 bucks. I like to do at least 300 bucks of cash flow a month at least, right? So I'm charging my buyer 1100. So when he gives me $1100 on the 28th, I then on the first, I got that $1100 from my buyer. I take 800 out of that 1100. I take 800 and I pay the bank, pay that mortgage. Boom. And then that 300 bucks, it's mine. So the way it's beneficial though for my buyer is, one, they don't have to qualify for that debt. They're not getting a ding to their credit, and it's not going against their debt to income ratio. It's not going to get their debt to income ratio. So they can still go to the bank if they have that good credit and go do their thing with the bank, because I'm their bank over here. And the GoGetter family bank, man, hey, we're about relationships, guys. We're not about those regulations and all that crap, man. And I'll tell you this, becoming the bank, it is an indescribable feeling, man. Indescribable. I can't even tell you, man. Becoming the bank, I mean, just think about that. Think about what I'm saying, right? I grew up rough. Man. I grew up poor. You know, drugs, alcohol, hustling, you know what I mean? You shot at all types of crazy stuff, man. I never in my life thought that I would be saying that I am the bank, and in a meaningful way. Like, I mean that shit. You know what I mean? I'm not just saying it. I never in my life thought that. So the feeling that I have by being the bank and being able to extend this credit and doing what banks do, which is creating money out of thin air, is an indescribable feeling, guys. So seller financing, it's the way to go. So let me answer this question. We got a question up here from Derek McLean. When you do lease options, do you do them as is or fix them up for the new tenant buyer? All right, Derek. So check it out, man. I don't do fix and flips. I do not. But I'm gonna give it to you real, man. Since I don't do repairs and I don't do fix and flips, it does make it more difficult for me to sell my houses. All right. It does. I'm not going to sit up here and sugarcoat this stuff, man. Since I don't do repairs and I don't do fix and flips, when I buy the house as is, right? And then I go to lease it out, man, I get times, man, where people will come in the house and they'll be like, what the, like, man, are you crazy? They looking at me like I'm crazy. I'm like, "Gee, somebody gonna buy it, you know?" But that's the way it goes, man. That's the way it goes. Like this one that I got right now that I'm meeting my buyer at noon. So I got 45 minutes. It's in a beautiful neighborhood, right? It is in the most desirable neighborhood in my city. Okay, the most desirable neighborhood in my city for middle class and then the upper middle class people. Okay, they call it God's country, which works my nerves because we all know what they're saying. I mean, so whatever. But I like buying houses up out there because I'm a brother. So anyway, I'm gonna get off of that. So anyway, um, I got this house. I took over the debt on this house. This house was supposed to go up to sheriff's auction November 16th. And you know what? I'm gonna share my screen with you guys real quick. I'm gonna show you guys something. I'm gonna show you the power of creative financing right now. Right now. Because I own this house, right? This is crazy. I'm about to show it to you. This is so dope, man. Oh, give me 1 second. This is the power though of creative financing and the way that the Go-Getter family does it. Okay, so let me share my screen, and then I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about that too, Derek. But check this out. Let me share my screen with you guys. Oh no. Oh, there it is. Okay. Boom. All right. You guys see this? Now check this out. This is the sheriff's auction site in my city. Okay. So these houses are going up for sheriff's auction and it has the dates here. Look, 4113 Madison Street. That goes up January 25th, 2022. And 1900 West First Street, January 18th, 2022. This is my house right here. 3008 South Cornelia. That's the house I'm telling you guys about right now where I'm going to meet my buyer. This is the house that I'm talking about right now, where I'm going to meet my buyer. Remember, I said this house was going up for auction November 16th. Look right here. I hope you guys can see this. 11/16 was the original date. Well, look, it's postponed to 1/11/2022. All right. 1/11/2022. So I'm gonna get up out of there. This is the power, right? That we have, man, with this. I stopped that foreclosure on the 16th. I stopped that. And then that's gonna keep getting postponed for 18 months. 18 months. And I didn't have to pay, anything for real. So, um, man, all right. So Derek, you can do some repairs. Now, I've got colleagues, right? When they buy a house on seller financing or even on a lease option, right? Because a lease option, Derek, is this. You're just not on public record, right? You're not on public record with a lease option. Okay, so you don't have to file that paperwork anywhere. And then a lease option, you just want to make sure in your agreement, right? If you're buying it on a lease option, you want to make sure that you have that assignment clause in there because you're going to assign that and it's going to become a sandwich lease because you're going to buy it on a lease option and then you're going to assign it on a lease. That is a sandwich lease. All right. So you can, when you get it on a lease option, you can do some repairs. Like I said, I've got colleagues, man, that a couple of them, man, that have just spent, 400 to $1,000 on doing some little stuff, some painting and, fixing some drywall or whatever on a lease. And then they turn around and they lease it, with that sandwich lease, and they're making a lot of money. They're making a lot of money off that. So really, Derek, that is up to you what you want to do with that. Because a lease option, again, we want to own nothing and control everything. Control everything. Now, what I recommend is this. Depending on, you want to use lease option in your arsenal, right? But I don't want to get too complex here. But um I always rather buy it on contract. Always. And then the way that the Go-Getter family does it is this. I buy it on contract, just like with that house I just showed you on the county website, that foreclosure website. Um, I buy it on contract because I am the contract holder of that house. And on contract, on public record, I'm going to show it to you right now, guys. I'm going to show you guys right now. Right now, I'm going to show you. I mean, because, a person could tell you anything and they'll show you everything. So this is dope, man. I'm going to show y'all right now. This is dope. So let me share my screen with you guys real quick. I'm live doing this too, man. Then I got to get up out of here. So my kids up there hollering, being crazy. My daughter's crazy. All right, so you guys can see this screen. This is Beacon, Woodbury County, Iowa, Sioux City. That's where I'm from, man. Sioux City, Iowa. So I'm gonna put that address in here. You see this? The address box. Look, so you guys know I'm 3008 South Cornelia. That was the one I just showed you. Run the tape back too if y'all are watching this over. Run the tape back so you can see that that's the actual address. I'm showing y'all, man. So that because there's gurus out here that are not even doing this stuff, man. They're not even doing it. They learned it, they read it in a book or whatever, and they're trying to teach people, man. Don't fall for that crap, man. Don't do it because it'll send you up a river with no paddle. So this is my acquisitions company right here, 1E3T Holdings. Now this should, because I've got the deed for it, this should be 3008 Cornelia Living Revocable Trust. They're going to change that. I transferred the deed into a trust, but I'm the contract holder right here, my company. Okay. So look at this, guys. Look at this on 11/3. Remember that foreclosure auction was November 16th. So on 11/3, 2021. I bought this thing on contract. Look at the price. Look at the price. 5 grand. And I haven't even paid that 5 grand yet. I haven't even paid that 5 grand yet because I agreed with my seller that he would get paid that 5 grand after the house is fixed up and sold. This is what we can do. That is seller financing right there. That's seller financing right there. He financed that 5,000. Now, when I did that, right, and I took that contract down to record that at the recorder's office, and I went and picked it up the next day because it takes 24 hours to be recorded. I went to pick it up, and the lady said, "Hey, I just wanted to ask, is that a mistake, that 5,000 before we put that on record? Because your payments on there are kind of high." I was like, "Oh no, it's not a mistake because my payments on there are like nine and some change a month." So I was like, "Oh no, it's not a mistake. Did you look at the exhibit on the back?" Is what I asked them. They were like, "Oh no." I was like, "Oh okay, well yeah, on the back, I'm taking over the existing debt on there, the mortgage. That's why the payments are so high." They're like, "Oh okay." So man, then they tried to put the city assessors on me. So look, this is the value that the city has it at 127,700. And guys, $5,000. 5 grand. So this house is valued at 127,700 by the city. Now, really, it's worth about 176,000, but by the city, it's 127 and $700. And I bought it for 5,000 bucks, 5,000, and I haven't even paid that yet. This is my company right here, 1E3T Holdings LLC. So, and I own it in a trust, man. So, Derek, if you still watching, dog, that's what we can do with that. All right. So, I recommend buying on contract because you have full control, man. You do. Now, when you buy with the lease option, you do have control, but you just have to make sure you did it right. You know what I mean? So, guys, I'm giving a huge discount, man, on my buying free foreclosures packet, and in that packet, you get the 7 steps guide so that to become a bank. All right, that's going to teach you about creative financing, how we do that, what you need to do, negotiating, all that good stuff. But also, you're going to be able to buy these foreclosures just like I just showed you. And I didn't even intentionally do that. Golly, just like I just showed you, you're going to be able to buy those foreclosures for free. I stopped that foreclosure. I stopped that shares auction on the 16th. I stopped it. I stopped it, y'all, by becoming the bank. That buying free foreclosures has every tool that you need in there. It has my contract for deed, which I just showed you. I'm the contract holder, right? It has that contract, how you purchase that. And then also it's got video tutorials in there and all your other documents that you need because I'm power of attorney, information release, all that. Then my trust that I bought it with. So it's 97 bucks, guys. That's 75% off. So, guys, if this brought you some value, don't forget to hit that like button. Derek, hit that like button for me, bro. And don't forget to subscribe. And I hope that this brought you some value today so that you can get out there and you can do this business. I got to get up out of here. But hey, y'all, till next time, let's get to it.